It's official. We were lied to at the highest levels. And now the woman the deep state never saw coming just blew their entire operation to hell. Tulsi Gabbard has just released declassified evidence that's so damning, so explosive that it confirms what many of us have suspected for years. Barack Obama's team engineered the Russia hoax to take down Donald Trump. But here is the twist, guys. They didn't take the fall. Jill Biden's inner circle did, and now, one by one, they're pleading the fifth, breaking down, vanishing from public view. This isn't political theater anymore. This is what a coup looks like when it starts to crack wide open. I mean, was Joe even president? Or was Jill calling the shots while her work husband ghost signed 8,000 pardons with an Autopen? Why was Hunter the only one to get a real signature? Huh? Anybody ever wonder that? And how far up does this go? Because Tulsi just named names and Obama's right at the top. So this is the moment the house of cards really starts falling. And in the next few minutes, we're going to be walking through every single name, every leak, every lie. And I want to show you exactly who's going to jail if justice finally wins. So don't blink, guys. In just a moment, you're going to see the exact moment Anthony Bernal, Joe Biden's top aide, shut down under oath, and what he refused to answer will blow your mind. Then, of course, I need to show you guys what Tulsi Gabbard revealed behind closed doors and why it's sending shockwaves through the DOJ right now. And finally, what happens next? Because President Trump, he's not just watching this unfold. He's about to act. And when he does, there will be no place left to hide. So I want to go ahead and get started with the bombshell that Tulsi just dropped on camera, naming the exact meeting where this entire coup was launched. By the way, if you appreciate the daily news updates, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and start where it cracked open. And I'll just go and tell you right now, it was not a press leak. This wasn't a whistleblower. This was a direct high-level declassification order from President Trump's own director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. So she walked onto the set yesterday and didn't just drop a bombshell. She set fire to the entire narrative the Obama-era intelligence machine spent years trying to craft. Tulsi didn't speculate. She didn't theorize. She declassified. Get this, guys. Documents confirming that in the final days of 2016, Barack Obama's closest intelligence insiders, we're talking the likes of James Clapper, John Brennan, and Susan Rice, they were told in their own words that Russia likely was not interfering in the 2016 election via cyber means. Let me go ahead and say that again. The U.S. intelligence community knew Russia didn't have the intent or even the capability to change the outcome. But then came December 9th, 2016. That's the day Tulsi says it all flipped over. So inside the now infamous meeting, Obama didn't ask for an honest assessment. He gave an order. He said, draft a new intelligence report. Don't ask if Russia interfered. Assume they did and explain how. Wow. Really, guys? That's not analysis. That's narrative manufacturing. That's not intelligence. That's election sabotage wrapped in national security credentials. Tulsi's exact words, he directed a manufactured piece of intelligence not to ask if Russia interfered, but to detail how they supposedly did. Now, folks, that's the playbook of a coup. A slow, bureaucratic, lawfare-style takedown of a duly elected president, not by the opposition party, but by the sitting administration that was supposed to hand off power peacefully. So let's be clear here, guys. This was not incompetence. This was intent. And Tulsi says it went all the way to the top. So here's the question you need to wrestle with. Is this the biggest abuse of power since Watergate? Or is it something even worse? Was this Obama's personal insurance policy to ensure the Trump presidency would never be allowed to govern freely? Now, if that doesn't give you chills, hang on, because what Tulsi dropped next dragged the Biden White House, and more specifically Jill Biden's entire inner circle, right into the center of this cover-up. And what they did next to protect the narrative could put multiple people behind bars. Now, you're going to want to see how deep this here goes, okay? Now that Tulsi went ahead and blew the lid off of the Obama-era coup narrative, the question becomes, who kept the operation alive once Trump actually took office? And the answer might be the last person you might suspect to hold presidential power, Dr. Jill Biden. So while Joe Biden was barely visible, half the time on vacation, the other half appearing confused, slow, or asleep, Jill Biden was everywhere. And suddenly, her chief of staff, Anthony Bernal, started popping up in very strange places. We now know he wasn't just scheduling tea times or photo ops. Bernal was reportedly the main gatekeeper to President Biden, controlling access, managing key decisions, and according to whistleblowers, even delivering instructions for Jill while Joe was indisposed. Now, here's where it kind of breaks wide open. Anthony Bernal, he was called before Congress and he pled the fifth repeatedly, not once, not twice, over and over and over again. Every time they asked a real question. Listen to these. Did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden? Fifth. Was President Joe Biden mentally fit to execute his duties? Fifth. Did any unelected official or family member, including Dr. Jill Biden, exercise the powers of the presidency? Fifth. Were you ever instructed to lie about the president's health? Fifth. Now, guys, I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. The Medicare system is not built to help you. It's built to confuse you. This is why I partnered with Chapter. They cut through all the noise and they actually get people results. Leslie Taylor, she wrote in and she told us that she's saving $1,000 a year. And Sharon Bertusik, she was kicked off of Medicaid and didn't even know where to turn. Chapter got her on a new Medicare plan with zero premiums, zero medication costs, and her copay dropped from $89 to just $20. Guys, that's real help. These are licensed advisors who will sit with you, understand your situation, and look through every option without the high-pressure sales tactics. Give our friends at Chapter a call right now. It's totally free. Phone number's down below at 909-563-8279 or go to askchapter.org/Ron. Link in the pinned comment down below. This is the company that I trust because they've delivered for my audience again and again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the behavior of an innocent man. This is a man in legal jeopardy, shielding something far darker than just bad optics. And guess what? He's not alone because Biden's own White House doctor also invoked the fifth, cited physician-patient privilege when asked if he was ever told to lie about Joe Biden's health. So now you got Joe Biden's top aide and Biden's doctor both refusing to speak under oath. And why? Because during Biden's final hours in office, a staggering 8,000 plus presidential pardons were pushed through, not signed by Joe, but by Autopen. Yes, a robotic signature. And you're never going to guess what or which pardon was the only one that Biden personally signed with his real actual hand. Hunter Biden. Let that sink in, guys. So Tulsi's declassified evidence draws the line back to Obama. But this here, guys, this shows who took the fall to keep that line from being traced. Jill Biden's team. They were the firewall, the plausible deniability. But now that firewall is cracking and the American people are finally seeing what's behind it. Guys, you got to ask yourself, are Jill Biden's aides pleading the fifth to protect the president, or are Jill Biden's aides pleading the fifth to protect themselves from prosecution? Are the whistleblowers caught up in the crossfire? Or are they co-conspirators in the greatest abuse of power in modern U.S. history? And so what happens next? If the Supreme Court rules that those 8,000 pardons are not valid at all? Yeah, we're going to talk about that right now. So what exactly is this Autopen scandal and why does it even matter? I'll tell you why. Because on Joe Biden's final day in office, over 8,000 official documents, including presidential pardons, were signed and they were pushed through using an Autopen. That's right, guys. A robotic arm that mimics a signature. Now, you got to ask yourself, who authorized it? Who received these pardons? Was Joe Biden even awake or even aware when they were issued? And, so there's a lot of questions we need answered. But let's be brutally honest. The man, he could barely read a teleprompter. And yet we're expected to believe that he independently reviewed and approved thousands of complex federal pardons overnight? Think about that, guys. Come on. And that's exactly what Trump's DOJ is now doing, digging deep into every name, every order, every signature. Now, look, you want the next piece before everybody else gets it? My free breaking news emails the shortcut down below. I've left it for you guys in a pinned comment. It is waiting in the description and in the pinned comment. Just click the link, join the newsletter, so you will be the first to know. Totally free. So Caroline Leavitt, the new White House press secretary, confirmed it live from the podium. The White House's counsel office is launching a full investigation into former President Biden's use of the Autopen because we must know who was really at the tip of the spear in making those decisions. Just the tip. Now, here's where it turns from scandal to crime. Representative Tim Burchett came out and said it flatly. I believe those pardons were for sale. Somebody was raking in the cash, ka-ching, ka-ching, as those signatures went out the door. And guess who did get Joe Biden's real signature? Only one person, Hunter Biden. His was the only pardon manually signed by Joe. The rest, Autopen. So let's go ahead and put this into perspective. You got thousands of individuals pardoned, potentially criminals, contractors, insiders, foreign operatives, without the president ever even laying eyes on their names. While his own son gets the real deal? That's not just corruption. That is self-preservation and possibly a pay-for-play scheme designed as mercy. And now, there's some serious talk that these mass Autopen pardons could be nullified by the Supreme Court, especially if it's proven Biden lacked capacity or never actually authorized them to begin with. Now imagine that. 8,000 pardons revoked, thousands of reactivated cases, and potentially federal charges for those who pushed them through. So now the question becomes, were these automatic or were these robotic signatures just the final act of a shadow presidency or part of a larger criminal conspiracy? And that brings us directly into the next explosive reveal, thanks to Tulsi Gabbard, because what the administration played, while the administration was playing these paper games in the West Wing, the media ran cover like it was their full-time job. And you've seen it. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all these different mainstream media news networks. And you're not going to believe who profited, who covered up, and who still holds Pulitzer prizes for reporting what Tulsi Gabbard just exposed as pure fiction. Now, if you thought this was just a government scandal, think again, guys, because none of it would have worked without the media playing along. So while Tulsi Gabbard is now declassifying memos that show the intel community knew for a fact Russia did not interfere in the 2016 election, you had outlets like the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC. They ran wall-to-wall coverage for years, pushing the exact opposite. And let's not sugarcoat this, guys. They didn't get it wrong. They were fed scripted leaks. They knew. And they ran with it anyway. The media had full access to Obama's intel figures, John Brennan, James Clapper, even Susan Rice. And these same players were testifying under oath because behind closed doors, there was no clear evidence that Trump had colluded with Russia. But on camera, Russia stole the election. Trump is compromised. The walls are closing in. And the cherry on top? The Pulitzer Prizes, guys. They literally won awards for pushing a hoax that Tulsi's documents now reveal was manufactured from the inside. So let that sink in. Should those Pulitzer Prizes be yanked from those people? These were not intrepid journalists digging for truth. They were mouthpieces, willing, eager, and they helped destroy lives. Because while CNN's ratings soared and reporters accepted shiny trophies, Trump's family was dragged through all sorts of lawsuits, FBI raids, impeachment, and smear campaigns, all based on a lie. You know what nobody is saying today about this? Not a single word of an apology. Not from the Times, not the Post, not from the Pulitzer board. Because admitting the truth now would mean admitting that they were complicit in a political coup. Here's where we stand, guys. You gotta ask, were these journalists misled victims of a bad intel? Or were these journalists the collaborators in a treasonous scheme to overturn an election? I mean, are we watching the death of investigative journalism as we know it? Or was it murdered by partisanship and power a long time ago? I mean, either way, guys, Tulsi, she just shattered the illusion. And we're not done, because while the media was distracting America, real people, patriots, they paid the price. We paid the price. Families broken, reputations destroyed, people you've never heard of bankrupted for being in Trump's orbit. Guys, we've talked about the planners, we talked about the enablers, but let's talk about the casualties, the people who never made headlines but paid the price for the biggest political hoax in modern history. Because while the media profited, while Jill Biden's team shielded a president who couldn't stay awake, while Obama's insiders drafted fake intel, ordinary Americans, they were getting raided, sued, bankrupt. President Trump and his family, endless lawsuits, bogus investigations, 2 impeachments based on manufactured smoke, FBI raids, media hit jobs, even Barron Trump, a child, wasn't off limits. But it didn't even stop there. Staffers were targeted, donors were subpoenaed, small-time aides were forced to hire lawyers they couldn't afford. I mean, some lost their homes, Some lost their marriages, others lost years of their lives fighting accusations that were never real to begin with. And for what? To protect a lie. And Tulsi Gabbard, she said it plainly. This was never about justice. It was about punishing the American people for voting the wrong way in 2016. That's it. That was the crime. Trump didn't steal the election. He won it, and they couldn't accept it. So instead of a peaceful transition, they gave us a years-long coup. And now that Tulsi has leaked everything, now that Joe Biden's team is collapsing under questioning, now that the DOJ is investigating the pardons, the signatures, the power structure behind it all, there's one final question that remains. Will the people who orchestrated this face justice? Will Barack Obama be held accountable? Will Joe Biden's inner circle be prosecuted? Or will this all be swept under the rug like every other elite scandal? Because here's what we do know. Trump is back in the office. The truth is out. And the silence from the old regime is louder than ever. But America isn't silent anymore. We see what happened. We remember every headline, and we want consequences. Tulsi leaked everything. The documents are real. The Fifth Amendment pleas are real. The cover-up is collapsing. And now, with President Trump back in power, the question isn't if there will be a reckoning, it's when. And if you think this is over, wait until you see what's coming. Now, YouTube thinks that you're going to love the next video that just popped up right now. It connects directly to everything that we just exposed, and it dives deeper into the political and financial trails, secret memos, and what President Trump's DOJ is about to do next. Click that video. Do not miss what's coming, because this coup may be cracking wide open, but justice is only getting started.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.